Welcome to the latest episode of the Podiatry Business Podcast with myself, Laura O'Donnell, podiatrist, health clinic owner and business mentor. So the title of today's podcast is Don't Tell Your Patients Your Price. Now, before you get your knickers in a twist about the title, and I'm sure there are some who have watched the advertisement or the name for this podcast and are already getting their knickers in a twist without even listening to it, there's a reason that I've done so, and that is primarily I wanted you to take notice of this podcast and I wanted you to listen to it because I feel it's so important. Now, secondly, it also shows you the power of a powerful headline in your marketing. So why did I want your attention? Because I intend to help you, the clinic owner, to help your front desk to book more inquiries, to book more people who are ringing up, potentially looking for an appointment. So what am I talking about? So a simple question that gets asked of your front desk multiple times every single day, and in the vast majority of cases is answered incorrectly and in a way that results in you booking less patients and your clinic reducing its potential turnover because of the way it's asked. What's this question? The question is, and I suppose I could get you to visualize what happens in your clinic. So inside in your clinic, your front desk is there, you're in the back, you're treating patients. You don't really know what the front desk is doing because you're so busy treating patients and you're not listening to what they're saying when they're answering the phone. But the phone it rings and they pick up the phone, they say who they are, hello, what's the name of the clinic, and the patient or potential patient says, hello, I'm just wondering how much is it for, and whatever the type of appointment is. And typically what will happen is the front desk will answer the question that is asked. It is XYZ, whatever it happens to be. The patient will then go, okay, thanks, I'll call you back later, or that's a bit expensive. They may not say that, they might be thinking that in their head, or that's a bit cheap, or whatever it happens to be, and they may or may not book the appointment. And in a lot of cases, they're not going to book the appointment. So you might say, well, Lorcan, my front desk is really good at booking appointments. My diary is pretty full. And they tell me they're pretty good at booking appointments. Well, they are, but they're not as good as you think that they could be. What I mean by this is what's happening is in most clinics, the clinic is built in such a way that the marketing isn't really generating proper leads. So it's built off booking in the type of patients who are ringing and are ready to book already, no matter what you say. So what do I mean by this? I mean a patient who might have been sent by a GP or a consultant, or even their mother or their wife or their brother or whoever. Word of mouth is what I'm talking about. And those kind of patients, price is less of an issue, and they're not going to make the decision primarily based on price. They're going to make it based off that they've been recommended. They're using social proof, which is one of the ways that we influence people to make decisions. But what we're talking about here is the people who have not come directly from word of mouth and have found you for different reasons, maybe organically, maybe Google My Business, etc. And they don't know anything about you. So what they're doing instead is they're ringing up and they simply don't know what question to ask. So they ask, how much is it for an appointment? Now, even my own clients still are having problems with this on occasion. I can see it. So we, as part of my coaching group, we would meet once or twice a year as a group. We meet together. And on one of the occasions that we met, what I did, we met on a Friday. At 11 o'clock on a Friday, I decided I was going to ring everybody who was there. Every clinic owner was there. I rang their clinic live in front of them to see what would happen when we asked the question, or we rang their front desk. Front desk did not know that this was going to happen. And in the vast majority of cases, they had not systemized or trained the front desk on what to do when this question comes in. So let's look at why is the patient asking this question, and then why is it not a good idea, etc. So the reason that the patient is asking this question is because they don't really know anything about you. Now, they don't necessarily think that you're going to take advantage or you're not honest or anything like that, but they don't know what to ask. How are they going to find out if you are any good or not? How are they going to find out if they value coming to see you? And value is a lot more than just about pricing, okay? So they don't know what to ask. So the default question is, how much is it for an appointment, because they can kind of figure out value from that. And the problem with that is that what it does is it turns your business into a commodity. So what we want to do is we want to move the patient away from that decision making, that they're deciding to pick you based on your price. Because if that's all they're doing, then you're never going to win, because somebody can always be cheaper. And that's a really, really difficult way to run a business and to be profitable if your prices aren't right. Now, I am not suggesting that you do not tell your patients your price. But what I am suggesting is that we don't tell them straight away, that we move them up the conversation away from that transactional, I suppose, question. And then we come back to it at the end when it becomes less of an issue. So what's happening is, if you answer the question that's asked, how much is it for a podiatry consult, chiropody consult, and you just say the price, you have immediately turned yourself and your business into a commodity. Now, what is a commodity? A commodity is something that somebody can get from multiple different places, and there is no difference between them. So it really just comes down to price. So an example would be if I decided I wanted to buy a bag of apples in Marks and Spencer's, or I wanted to buy a bag of apples in Aldi, and if the apples were to all intents and purposes the same, well, then the only reason I pick one over the other is price. That's a commodity. And that's what's happening when you're allowing your front desk to answer the question that is asked most often by potential patients: how much is it for an appointment? By simply giving the price. You've turned yourself into a bag of apples that I could get in Aldi or in Marks and Spencer's. And if you're trying to run a business that has a better pricing strategy, well, then you're already cutting the legs out from underneath you. So what you need to do instead is you need to move the patient away from commodity thinking to one where the value isn't about the price. The value is about what you're going to do for the patient, the outcome you'll give for the patient, and then you can come back to price. And at that point, the price is not about commodity anymore. So how do you do this? So when the patient rings up and they say, how much is it for an appointment? What your front desk does is they say, well, do you mind if I ask you a few quick questions? Because we have a number of different appointments, and I want to make sure that I recommend the right type of appointment for you. That's a pretty reasonable answer to give. And the patient typically will go, yeah, that's fine. So then you'll ask anywhere from 3 to 5 questions. Now, the questions you ask are not as important as you might think, because what you're doing here by asking these questions is you're moving the patient away from the pricing to other things. So for example, do you mind me asking what kind of pain you're having? How long have you got pain? Have you had any treatment before? What's it stopping you doing? Now that's important, that one, because when you're putting that one in, what's it stopping you doing, or what effect is it having, then it becomes more about fixing that, getting you back doing what it's stopping you doing, and that's an emotional issue. And we base our judgment on purchases and on value on emotion. And when we do so, and we try to encourage the patient to move towards that direction, you're going to find the price is not as big an issue. And that's a key question. So where's the pain? How long are you having pain? Have you had any other treatments? What's it stopping you doing? And if you're finding that the patient is somewhat a little bit resistant, then you might have to have slightly longer questions. Typically I had a front desk who used to ask, is it on your left or right foot? Now, that is a completely irrelevant question. But what she was doing is she was trying to build a relationship with the patient to get the patient to open up to them, so that then she would say, okay, well, this is your problem and this is the solution. And the solution was an appointment. And we would explain, and you should explain what the appointment is. You obviously explain the features of the appointment, but you also explain the benefits, because when you add features of something to benefits of something, what you get is an emotional outcome. And therefore, you're now getting the patient to make an emotional buying decision and less about the value based on price. The value now is based on getting my emotional goal solved, and the price is not an issue. So you've asked your number of questions. You then offer a solution. You've mentioned the features, but you focus primarily, or you emphasize the benefits. And then once they understand that, you get buy-in. And the best way to get buy-in is to say this phrase: how does that sound? We don't ask a yes or no, would you like to book an appointment, because you could get a yes or you could get a no. Whereas when you ask someone, how does that sound? Typically what you tend to get is a more positive reaction, because people like to be positive. It sounds okay. Then what you'll do is you recommend the appointment, and you book the appointment, and you can talk about the price at that point. So you can see what we're doing is we have a kind of a strategy and a script that we're using to move the patient's conversation away from one where they're judging whether they're going to book with you, i.e. the value of coming to see you, away from a pricing and a commodity to more one where we're going to work on, figure out what their emotional goal is, what their outcome is, and give them the solution to that, get buy-in, and then once we've got buy-in, we can talk about the price. This is the price of it. So you can see we're not going to not tell them the price, but we are going to make sure that we work through our system before we get to that. Now, you'll get the odd patient who will not be willing to have this conversation with you. That's just part of it. And you will also notice with those patients, they don't tend to book in because all they're looking for is the cheapest place. Now, if you're the cheapest place, then they're going to book in with you. But if you're also the cheapest place around, you're probably going to find that you're not very profitable and you're working very hard for not a lot of return. So you probably need to go and listen to my podcast on pricing. So what do you need to do if this is something you're going to implement into your business? And I strongly recommend you do it. First, you need to re-listen to this podcast a few times and you need to come up with your script on how you should have it done. Now, you might have slightly different variations on what you say. Your local parlance, etc. will be slightly different. But you're going to write out a script. And then you're going to train your staff on this concept. Then once you've trained your staff, you're going to check, are they doing it? And you're going to see how that's happening. So how do you write the script? You simply sit down, train your staff, and you ask them to help you with the questions. Then you get them to write out that script, type it up. And what I do in my team, and what I have my clients do, is we print that script out and we sellotape it to the desk right next to the phone so that they don't even have to think. Once you've done that, you need to go and check it. And how I like to check it is actually listen into the conversations. So I have a purpose-built podiatry clinic, and I made sure that I have a very small office that is right next to the front desk, so I can hear what's happening at the front desk, so I can hear our staff rebooking patients and how our phone calls being done. And when something is said that's not following the script, straight after the phone call, and I mean straight after the phone call, I'll say to the receptionist, well, when you said it this way, could you say it this way? And it works really, really well. So the point I'm making is, it's not that we're going to tell our patients the price that we're charging, is we want to move the conversation away from one where your patient is making a decision on whether they come to see you based off your price, i.e. you've become a commodity, to one where the value that they place on it is the outcome that you're going to give. And when you do that, you get more patients booking in, you can charge a greater price, and you'll have a much more profitable business in your clinic. So until next time, this is Lorcan O'Donnell, health business mentor, clinic owner and podiatrist, signing out.